Welcome to the Stormsurf Video Surf Forecast for Monday, December 9th. Looking at the significant wave height chart for the North Pacific, the only area of interest is what appears to be some sort of low pressure trying to organize north of Hawaii. Seas are still barely 18 feet in one pocket. Otherwise, it looks like the high pressure regime continues along the U.S. West Coast. Lack of trades into Hawaii and nothing going on over in the West Pacific either. So at the moment, a quiet pattern. We'll start our tour here at the jet stream level. This is 30,000 feet up, 250 millibar. So we have a decent flow of wind doing much as it has for a month now, coming off Japan down around 28 north, sort of starting to split just off the coast with the main flow pushing east. Heading north, ridging north of Hawaii. You got a bit of a trough trying to organize here, as there's also sort of a trough there, but not much wind associated with it. A little bit, 130 knots in the bottom, not horrible. But you have this ridge here, and then you have what looks like a backdoor trough trying to organize. It's actually been falling down the U.S. West Coast for a day or so now. But most of the energy that's going up into the Bering Sea is then turning around, falling down over the interior U.S. and of no interest to us. So not a whole lot currently going on. But let's put that into motion, see what's happening here as we roll this out. Bit of a trough tries to organize Tuesday here north of Hawaii. Continues on, but gets pinched off. Nothing really happening. The ridge builds over the U.S. West Coast. Ridge building north of Hawaii. Continue to put this into motion. Now finally on Thursday you get something that almost looks like a legit trough trying to form here on the date line. Not a lot of wind associated with it, and you have the splitting pattern still going on just off of Japan. Continue to put this into motion into Friday. You get more wind energy associated here, but still this is not remarkable. It's just something. But notice the split pattern starts dissipating off of the Kuril Islands, and you get this big bulge of winds. We're looking at 160, 170 knots pushing off Japan. Continue to put this into motion, and we have this kind of a zonal flow thing going on. Well, it's actually split here, so no. Just waiting. There's a trough organizing here. We'll put this into motion some more. That's actually a decent looking trough. We're into Sunday. We're late in the weekend. Big ridge here. Split pattern. High pressure likely here. Actually a little bit of a cut off upper low off of Southern California, but not of any real interest. And now this actually starts looking interesting 180 hours out. You have a consolidated jet pushing off Japan. We have 170 plus knot winds, a bit of a trough organizing here, and then you got this split pattern going on. This is which high pressure. So what that suggests is a low pressure regime in the West Pacific, high pressure in the East Pacific. If there were to be something organizing here, it would result in long period groomed lines making their way in the U.S. West Coast and Hawaii for that matter, though there is a bit of a trough. It looks like sitting just about right over top of the islands. So let's take a look down at the surface, see what's going on. We noticed there was something going on north of Hawaii. This is as of Monday, 12Z run. A little bit of 35 knot winds, nothing too interesting. High pressure off the U.S. West Coast, offshore flow for California. Trades actually going into Hawaii, not too strong, but not horrible, and basically nothing else going on. Let's put this into motion, see what happens. This little low, it's got a little bit of upper level support. We get a decent fetch by later Monday night, 35 knot winds over a pretty good area, aimed more towards the U.S. West Coast than Hawaii. Continue to put that into motion. It holds into Tuesday. Bit of what I call a cutoff low here. Trying to get organized, but let's see how this plays out. So this low starts exiting into Alaska. This low on the date line starts organizing a little bit better. Look at that, 50 knot winds aimed at Hawaii. This is on Wednesday evening. And that fetch 45 knot winds continues to aim pretty decently at the islands and a bit at the U.S. West Coast, though mainly south of the Great Circle tracks because they're coming out more like this. Put it into motion. There we go. Now all the fetch sort of rejuvenates here. 45 knot winds aimed right at the U.S. West Coast. This is Thursday night. Good upper support in this low. Most of the energy now is taking aim at the U.S. West Coast. It holds and pushes east slightly into Friday and even into Friday night, and then finally heads up and out of the picture on Saturday, while high pressure pretty much keeps California locked down. A little bit of something trying to organize by Saturday over here, and then by, oh, this is interesting, by the time you get into Sunday, we have a rather large area of low pressure. The fetch is isolated, just a tiny little area here off Japan, but this is looking well positioned for Hawaii if it were to occur. And that is 45, 50 knot winds, not over a large area, but good enough to do some damage, produce some swell, mainly for Hawaii if it were to happen. And then into 180 hours out, you've got the whole West Pacific filled with fetch aimed at the islands. Not strong, 30, 35, maybe 40 knot. Good for 13, 14 plus second period swell. And low pressure up in the Gulf of Alaska, with high pressure locked down over California and the U.S. West Coast. So this is actually looking better than we've seen in quite a while. At least there's some activity on the charts. So let's go see how all this manifests itself down at the surface. We'll put this into motion step at a time. Here's the first little low, 24 foot seas aimed kind of at the U.S. West Coast. This was on a Monday night. Into Tuesday, not particularly strong, just basically a short little blast of 13, 14 second period swell, mainly heading into, I'd say, California, Oregon, Washington. Another low starts to develop on the dateline in the second trough. Oh, and that blows up pretty nice right off the bat. 36 foot seas aimed right at Hawaii and in pretty close proximity. We'll put that, check out the Great Circle Pass. Notice how this low is actually pushing right down about the 319 degree path. There we go. Yeah, that was pretty good. Pretty good short blast of energy right there. And then it starts moving more across the Great Circle Paths as you get into Thursday. But then we'll go take a look and see how this is relative to the U.S. West Coast. We're on the 294 degree path here for Northern California on Thursday night. There we are into Friday morning, and that's 296, 297 degrees, and then sort of working its way up to the, that's still 296 degrees. That's decent, like that. And then it works its way up into the Gulf and kind of starts blowing by California. There's still good energy though for up in the Pacific Northwest. Okay, put that on out into motion. And then here comes the next system lining up off the Kuril Islands on Sunday night. You've got 36 foot seas. Again, here's Hawaii, about the 300 degree path. We'll go back and look at 302 to 300. And even a hair bit south of that, and so you're good. Assuming all this occurs, another burst of swell for the islands, probably a much more westerly angled swell, but that doesn't even really get going until a week out, so it's not believable. But there is hope. There is some energy, it appears, in the atmosphere, and that is a good thing. Next, we'll take a look at some long-term projections, see what's going on in relation to the MJO and ENSO, El Nino, La Nina. We had a nice little run of some negative numbers on the SOI index, potentially suggesting a developing active phase of the MJO, but if you actually go look and see what was happening, it was just low pressure hanging over Tahiti, and it wasn't anything it was more an anomaly than anything. So our numbers are neutral for the daily average, 6 or so for the 30-day running average, which is a little bit above normal, suggestive of a weak inactive phase, and 90-day average 3.73. Again, the balance is slightly tilting towards the inactive phase of the MJO, and the inactive phase tends to not support storm development. The active phase definitely supports storm development in the North Pacific in the winter. Next, we'll look at wind anomalies. This is over the West Pacific on the equator. Westerly anomalies at the 850 millibar level over maritime continent, but pretty much turning neutral. I mean, this is actually a very small area of, easterly anomalies. Pretty much neutral onto the date line, and then we go past the date line. Another little bout of easterly anomalies south of Hawaii. There's Hawaii, and then back to neutral. So all this sort of suggests the inactive phase of the MJO. Not particularly strong, though. Now going a week out, December 17th, much the same, a weak easterly wind anomaly pattern. It's actually south of the equator, but it's within a couple of degrees of the equator is what you're most interested in. So that still is suggestive of the inactive phase of the MJO, and we'll go and look on out south of Hawaii again, weak easterly anomalies, and then neutral on into Central America. Next, we'll take a look at a longer range 15-day model. The orange anomalies suggest a lot of reflectivity as outgoing long wave radiation, suggests reflectivity, high pressure, and more than likely enhanced trades or east anomalies. Here's the active phase of the MJO, the forecast. This is the statistical model. Right now it's all holed up in the Indian Ocean, so it's the inactive phase that is dominant right now in relation to the North Pacific storm track. We go out 5 days, same deal, out 10 days. It's getting weaker. You see the active phase trying to make some headway, more moisture, better support for storm development, and by 15 days out, actually the inactive phase is effectively gone and the active phase takes over per the statistic model. Now let's go take a look at the dynamic model. Different story. Basically it says the inactive phase is to hold and just dissipate on the date line, with the active phase just hold up in the Indian Ocean. So there's a bit of a discrepancy between the two models. Odds are it'll probably be some version halfway in between, with my guess would be the inactive phase, this moving east a little bit, fading some, the active phase trying to make headway but not quite making it. And then of course here's the ultra long. This is a 40-day projection. The models suggest starting now that the inactive phase of course is on the date line, and that by 13th of December it's fading out, and by the 16th or so, 18th, you're into almost the active phase starting to work its way over the West Pacific into Christmas time. That's good news for the holidays if you want to go surfing. But then you get into January, and here comes the inactive phase right behind, and pretty much locking the Pacific down into at least mid-January. So that'll cut off precipitation for the Tahoe region. It also likely would reduce storm development potential in regards for swell generation. So again, this is all highly speculative, but it gives you sort of a hint of what's to come. Notice that there's no strong winds going one way or the other. This is again a continuation of this weak MJO pattern that's been going on for 2+ years now. So no rapid change foreseen. Next we'll take a look at sea surface temperature anomalies just posted today. This is from NOAA. This is good news. Notice there is virtually no cold water, no pockets of cold water on the equator in the key region, which is right in here. All the anomalies are neutral or slightly warm. A couple little pockets of, neutral, but nothing less than that. This is also really interesting. There's warm water now almost the whole, from Chile the whole way up into Peru. We have not seen that at all so far this year. So typically what happens, you get subsurface water, warm water gurgling up off the coast here, traversing back this way. If the water's warm and stays warm for months on end, you end up in an El Nino scenario. If this is all negative anomalies, down in these purples and blues, then you got La Nina. Clearly, we're nowhere near La Nina. We're not near El Nino either, because it's all basically neutral, but this is not a bad situation to be in. Along the California coast, still cold water, part of the upwelling pattern, high pressure off in the East Pacific. circulating this way, blowing surface waters, doing the upwelling thing, suppressing water temperatures. But still, there's this pocket of warm water that's been migrating off Japan. It's poised right off the coast. It would be nice to see this north wind pattern break up along California and see some warm water move in. But still, take what we can get. Off Africa, warm water temperature there, so the whole pattern is pretty, I'd say, neutral looking as of right now. Next, we look at subsurface water temperatures. This is the West Pacific here. This is the East Pacific. This is actual water temperatures. These are the anomalies. This is good news. We had been watching a Kelvin wave that was created by a westerly wind burst back in early October sometime, and it's been slowly migrating its way across about 150 meters down across the Pacific, and it's now hitting these are sensors dangling off a buoy down at depth, and we're seeing heat temperature anomalies starting to impact the sensors, suggesting that the Kelvin wave has in fact made it across the Pacific. It's approaching Ecuador. This is good news, because what happens when it hits South America or Central American coast, it'll basically rise to the surface, and then trades will pick it and blow it back to the west, and that will get us maybe not a warm pool off of Central America, but at least help hold neutral water temperatures. And if it's neutral, that will help the jet stream a lot more than cold water will. So this is good news. It's definitely a step in the right direction long term. And finally, the CFS version 2 model, water temperature, surface water temperature anomalies for the Nino 3.4 region, which is the main region used to monitor El Nino and La Nina. And right now, it's, we're in kind of a neutral regime. That's what it projects. But then once you get into the springtime, it's suggesting a slow warming pattern. Only half a degree. That's not El Nino, but that's a start in the right direction. So everything appears to be lining up to say La Nina's dead. Even this pure neutral pattern that we've been in, which doesn't really impart any energy to the atmosphere, doesn't do anything to help storm formation, that might also be dead by February or so, and we'll start moving into a little more momentum in favor of storm development. Now, that doesn't do much for the winter season of 2013-2014, but it might do something for the summer of 2014 and the following winter. So this is good news. So right now, there's not a whole lot going on, but by Tuesday, there should be something developing that might produce swell, mainly for the U.S. West Coast. And then by late Wednesday, definitely something aiming at Hawaii, 36-foot seas. And then that same system producing 37-foot seas aimed at the U.S. West Coast by Thursday night. And then by Monday, yet another system off Japan, possibly producing another swell for Hawaii. So there's hope in the forecast. This looks pretty good. This is actually the best we've seen in a couple of months, so it's nice to see something on the charts. None of this is over the top. It's just standard kind of winter fair utility class type swell, but it's a step in the right direction. Thanks for watching. We'll do this again next week, same time, same channel. Thanks.